Now I opened the window and I dropped all my stash. And then I tripped on my nightstand. I fell on my ass. But once my bloodshot eyes should appear, it's this crusty old sleigh, an 8-time reindeer, with a little old man who held on to his stick. Well, I knew in a moment it must be St. Bernard. Over the chimney, over the walls, faster, you bastards, or I'll cut off your balls. And he came down the chimney like a bat out of hell. And we knew in a moment that that bastard had fell. But he filled up our stockings with all kind of cheer. But then he ate all my cookies. And he drank all my beer. Back of the chimney, like a shot from a gun. Got blinded by Rudolph and bit his tongue. And I heard him explain as he rode out of sight. I need a beer. It's been a hell of a night. Merry Christmas, my Facebook friends.
Merry Christmas.
Welcome to Redneck Christmas.
If you think enough records that you get off behind of, then you might be a Christian right there. Maybe for your story.
I was coming around the mountain snorting cold when the chain on my motorcycle broke. I was laying on the grass with a muffler up my ass and my thoughts were playing Dixie on the spoon. Well, I woke up just a total freaking mess when I met a honey from EMS. She's a Facebook friend of mine, looking mighty fine, but offline. She weighs 309. Realizing big girls need loving too. I did what I really had to do. So come on inside my big old double wide and see my dozen kids and redneck wife. Well, I hope.
No way.
All right, or not. Is that better? All right, good. In any case, you guys, thank you so much for coming. I'm very excited about this. It's a cool thing for me. It's great for the VFW, and it's awesome to see how many people did turn out to see me. So thank you guys so very much. With all the hype and my name on signs and lights and stuff like that, this ain't going so well.
We don't have good acoustics, so this is kind of...
All right, everybody just shut up and listen now, all right? There's a lot of pressure on me, so I hope you guys have a good time tonight. But before we go any further, first of all, I need to thank Melissa for allowing me to do this. You guys, big round of applause. Now, I know she's nervous because she put a joking time bomb with a microphone on stage in front of all her customers. But I did promise her I would behave, so we'll see how it goes. Also, everybody, Heather's been back there slinging drinks. Let's have a big round of applause for her. And Heather, can you hear me? Heather, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, well, normally when I perform at shows and I mention the bartender, I get free drinks all night. Just saying. Let your conscience be your guide, all right? All right, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the opening video. Me and my kids, I love my boys so much, and they could not come here tonight for obvious reasons. But I did want to share some of the talent that they have with you guys. And those two songs we did, they were just over at my place one night, and we just come up with this stuff, and they're as, well, hopefully as funny as I am. But I hope you enjoyed that. But when you saw my kids, 17 and 19-year-old boys, and they're both healthy kids, and I know all the hassles it took for me to raise my kids. But, you know, there's parents that are less fortunate and have kids with problems. And actually tonight, I don't know if you guys heard, but we're collecting a donation for Mason Hickerson. Mason's got a disease or something, a problem with his muscles. And I'm not a doctor, I don't know much about it. And I know this is a comedy show, and I don't mean to be somber, but at the same time, there's a lot of other stuff going on in the real world. But anyways, we're taking donations tonight for Mason. They're trying to get a handicap accessible van, and let's see if we can contribute, all right? And I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get it started. I have a $50 bill. I'm not trying to raise the bar here or anything. But how about if everybody else throws some money in there too? Okay. All right. Hey, where's Dominic at? Dominic, I have a notepad and a pen for you, so you can take notes during the show, and then afterwards I'll explain the jokes for you, and then you can laugh along with us. All right? Hey, that's funny. All right. All right, drink water, and then we're getting down to business. I'm shaking. Now I got it. Just draw some pictures, Dominic. I was going to bring crayons, but you'd be all over the walls with them. All right. In any case, last year, a friend of mine who was thinking about getting into comedy asked me, what was it that snapped inside of me to make me actually, first of all, write a show, but to actually get up and perform it in front of people. And so that's going to be the lead-in to my first story tonight. I was dating a woman, and one Sunday afternoon in April in 2010, we were at Duke's with her, my buddy, and Matt. Wait, so you guys all know Matt, right? Where are you at, Matt? All right, well, in that case. Me, Matt, my girlfriend, and her sister were dudes, and I brought up this idea about how I'd like to try stand-up comedy. And my girlfriend looked at me and she said, I don't think that's a good idea. She said, you're a funny guy, but only when somebody says something to you, then you can say a smart-ass comment back to them. I don't think you do good up on stage. Needless to say, we broke up that night. And what snapped inside of me was knowing the fear that she would have, knowing I was doing stand-up comedy, and at any moment, she could be the brunt of the joke. I like that. So that is what snapped inside of me, and that's the reason why I do comedy now. One thing you're going to see throughout the show tonight is me, Matt, and Dukes, okay? We know we have a problem. Don't try to counsel us, all right? In any case, me and her are friends again now. I guess we just decided we were always meant to be friends and not lovers. So, and she's very cool. And in fact, she came to my last show. But I think that's because she found out I mentioned her in my first show, and the second show was entirely about her. So I think she wanted to see what was going on. In any case, but that leads me to something, and that's people say the wrong thing sometimes. And sometimes when you say the wrong thing, that's how fights get started. So let's go with this theme here a little bit.
That'll never happen.
One year for Christmas, I bought my mother-in-law a burial plot. Well, the next year I didn't get her anything, and when she questioned me as to why, I said, well, you didn't use what I got you last year. And that's when the fight started. One night, me and my wife were in bed, and we were watching Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. You guys all familiar with that show? And I turned to her and I said, hey, you want to have sex? And she said, no. And I turned to her and I said, is that your final answer? Without even looking at me, she said, yes. So I told her, I want to phone a friend. That's when the fight started. Me and my wife were in a restaurant one night, and we sat down, and the waiter for some reason asked me, or took my order first. And so I said, well, I'll have the rump roast and rare. And he turned to me and said, well, aren't you worried about the mad cow? And I said, well, no, she can order for herself. That's when the fight started. Me and my wife, we were at her class reunion, and we were sitting at a table, and she kept staring at a guy that was over at the bar, just swilling his beer and drinking slowly. And so I said to her, I said, do you know him? And she said, yeah, unfortunately I do. He's one of my old boyfriends, and from what I understand, he's been drinking ever since I left him many years ago, and he hasn't been sober since. And I told her, I said, wow, I can't believe somebody could celebrate that long. That's when the fight started. The lawnmower was broke, and well, I had other things to do, like boating, hockey, drinking beer, and other things that were more of a priority than the lawnmower. So my wife decides to prove a point, and so I got home one day, and she's sitting out in the tall grass with a pair of sewing scissors cutting the grass. I walked up to her and I looked at her, walked in the house, only for a moment, came back with the toothbrush, and I said, well, when you're done with the grass, why don't you go ahead and sweep the driveway? The doctor said the pain here won't last for more than a year. Oh my. Sitting there watching TV one night, flipping through the channels. Wife sits down and says, hey, what's on the TV? I said, dust. That's when the fight started. One Saturday morning, decided to sneak out of bed and go out fishing. So I get my clothes on, I get a thermos of coffee, pack a couple sandwiches, of course take a 30-pack of beer. hook up the boat, drive out of the garage, and it's raining, windy, hail, it's a mess out. So back the boat, back into the garage, turned on the Weather Channel. They said it's supposed to be like that for the rest of the day. So I decided that I'd just sneak back in the house, get off my clothes, crawled back in bed, snuggled up with my wife, and with other intentions. And I said, "It is really nasty outside." And she said, "Yeah, and my asshole husband's out there fishing in that." That's when the fight started. You guys are too much fun. All right. Our anniversary was getting closer, and she started hitting around about things that she'd like to have. And she said, "I want something shiny that goes from 0 to 150 in 3 seconds." So I bought her a bathroom scale. That's when the fight started. My dad retired, and he goes down to the Social Security office to sign up for Social Security, and he gets in there and they're filling out all the forms, and they said to him, "Okay, well, all I need is your driver's license to prove your age." And he starts going through his pockets, and he said, "Well, I forgot my wallet, and I'll come back later." And she's like, "No, hold on a second." She said, "Take off your shirt." So he unbuttons, revealing the curly gray hair on his chest. And she goes, "That's proof enough. I'll sign you up." So he goes home, all ecstatic about how this worked out for him. And he goes to my mom and tells her the story. And my mom said, "Well, why didn't you pull down your pants? Maybe you could have got disability too." That's how that fight started. That's probably the reason why I was the last one. One Saturday afternoon, my wife was standing in the bedroom, completely naked, in front of a full-size mirror. And she was upset with the way that the years have aged her body, the lines and the wrinkles and the wiggles and the jiggles. And she turned to me and she said, "Please, if you would, tell me something positive about my body so I could feel good about myself."
The beard doesn't lie.
So I told her, I said, "There's nothing wrong with your eyesight." That's how the fight started. A couple days ago, I was having a bad morning. Got into a car wreck in the morning. And the person in the other car was a dwarf. And he got out of the car and he came up to me and said, "I'm not happy." So I looked at him and I said, "Which one are you?" Does anybody need me to explain that one to him? Dominic, we'll talk tonight. Take notes, Dominic. We're talking tonight. You and me, buddy. Any case, watch what you say, because you never know how the fight could get started. Okay, well, as you can see from my humor so far, I am a single guy, surprisingly. And I'm single because I choose to, and not because I can't find a date. And so I decided one time to sign up for an online dating service. I don't know if any of you have ever tried this before. It's like a college exam to sign up for these things. It takes like 4 hours, and it's like a brain aneurysm going off in your head if you answer all the questions. So I finally got my account, and I was really excited, and then you just get inundated by all these women coming into your inbox, which is really cool. But it's a lot to go through. And see, my problem with this is I work a full-time job, and I turn this dating thing into a full-time job at night. And I'd go home and I'd look at all these women and read through all their profiles and print stuff out. I'd be highlighting stuff and things like that. I don't know why. And when you look at some of these people, some of the pictures these women use, it's like, what were you thinking? So some of them, they look like police mugshots, or I think they scanned in their driver's license. I don't know what it was. So I immediately hit the X on them, got rid of them. But I also looked at how old people were because I don't want somebody too young. And because with my luck that I have, I would get somebody and they want to have a kid. Now, I can't, but with my luck that I have with dating, I'd probably wind up with the great niece of the Blessed Mother. You need me to explain that one?
Dominic?
You all right with that one, Dominic?
Yeah.
You following along here, buddy? All right, brother. I'm worried about you. In any case, this whole dating thing is tough. And like when I would first find a lady that I thought was very interesting, I'd really go through her profile and I'd send her this big, long 5-paragraph email about, you know, my name's Steve and da-da-da. And of course, I would do this every day and I'd send out so many of these things and very rarely did you get responses. And till near the end of this whole dating thing, my emails were like, look, if you're interested, call me. And that was the email. So, but anyways, I finally get through this, and I have my very first date, okay? Now, before I go any farther, I have a little disclaimer here, and basically it states that I changed all the ladies' names in my act to their home city to protect the guilty. All right? I don't want to get in trouble with these people because I'm in enough trouble as it is. So anyways, I had my very first date, and it was over at Damon's, over in the Shoppers at Susquehanna. And I met her there, and we got a table. Oh, this is Miss Harrisburg, by the way. Let's stick with the disclaimer. So we sat down, we're having a good time, and everything was going well. And all of a sudden, she says, but right now in life, I'm concentrating on my walk with God. Now, I thought that was funny. In any case, I don't remember a lot more from the rest of the date because I was so overwhelmed by this. And all I do remember is her at one point say she gets home every night, she gets on dailyscripture.com or .org. Oh no, .God. In any case, the way she was talking, it sounded like God was actually stopping by and delivering the messages every night. So needless to say, that didn't work out too well. And then my very next date was at Doc Holliday's over in Blackcomb Road in Cumberland. And Miss York, and from the time Miss York posted her picture for her on her profile until she walked through the doors in the lobby at Doc Holliday's, like 20 to 30 years have elapsed. Like she didn't look anything like her picture. And that was a very difficult date. And well, then a few days later, there was Miss Hummelstown. And no, not any of you Hummelstowners. Maybe. In any case, I met Miss Hummelstown over at the Starbucks over in the outlets in Hershey over here, and it was really cool. And I thought, oh, maybe I finally did this, you know, maybe I finally hooked up. And like we got through the whole religious thing, it was cool, and her picture, she looked like her and stuff like that. Oh, this is great. And so we started talking, and we're having a really good time. And all of a sudden, she stops, she looks down at her watch, and she says, our hour and a half is about up. And then she goes on for the next 10 or 15 minutes explaining all these rules of dating. Like you meet in a public place, and you describe the person you're going to be with, and things like this. And the whole time I'm sitting there thinking, some asshole sat down and wrote up rules for dating? I have enough stress with dating. The last thing I need is a rule book to follow. So that didn't work too good either. And then, well, a couple dates later, there was Miss Ephrata. And Ephrata, I don't know how to say it. I'm not dating her anyway, so I don't need to know. In any case, my profile's all up to date on Match. And, well, when I had it, and I don't have it anymore, you can't find me, so we're not dating. In any case, she shows up, okay? And she comes up, she's like, Steve, you know? And I turn around, and the first thing I notice, and again, I'm not lying to you people, you can't make this kind of stuff up. She had a big, thick, long, gray nose hair sticking out of her nose. I had a hard time on concentrating on anything but this nose hair. Now, luckily, during the date, when she took a bite of her crab cake sandwich, she got a hold of it. I didn't have to concentrate on the nose hair anymore. So, but of all the dates I've been on, this is really the one I wanted to use the hour-and-a-half rule on. But I know I'd abuse it, and I'd be like, no, 30 minutes is done, we're gone, sorry. So, you can see my frustration. There's Miss Mechanicsburg, who wouldn't shut up. There was Miss Palmyra. None of these Miss Palmyras, though. That after one date, thought that every moment of my free time now belonged to her. So, and let me give you an example of my bad luck of dating. Where's Matt? Me and Matt are out at Duke's one night, and he hones in on somebody sitting at the bar. We go walking up, and she says, or he says to her, or she introduces herself as Sarah, okay? So we're talking a little bit. 5 minutes into this conversation, Matt goes to her, so Susan, what do you do? Me and Sarah looked at each other. We both looked at Matt and said, Sarah, they're still together. Me, I don't even meet Miss Carlisle, but I post a 1-minute clip of my act on my Facebook page. She sends me a nasty email the next day that says, you know, Steve, I was going to go out with you, but after I saw your clip, I decided I don't want to be material for your act. I don't even go out with them, and they dump me. So, you can see my frustration here. But it wasn't until I met this next woman. And she was from Allentown. And I know you're all sitting there thinking, Christ, Steve, Allentown, are you desperate? Yes. One Saturday afternoon, I drive up to the Lehigh Valley Mall and I meet her in this really nice restaurant. And she was a very nice lady, and we had just an outstanding time. It was like a 2-hour date. It was one of those situations where we're hogging up a table, drinking water, making asses out of ourselves. The wait staff's getting pissed. They're trying to seat people. So finally paid the bill. We're walking out to her car, and I was just getting ready to say, hey, would you like to see me again? And she says to me, and again, you can't make this kind of stuff up. She says, I have 2 more guys to check out before I make my decision. Allentown's an hour and 20 minutes away from my apartment, and I cannot honestly remember any part of the drive home. So it was later on that evening, I was sitting there thinking about it, and something came to me, and it's something I wanted to come and share with you guys all tonight. And I want you to take this with you. Now, in 47 years of collecting data, I grew up with 4 sisters. I lived with a woman for 2.5 years, who at this point I should probably stop and thank her for the volumes upon volumes upon volumes upon volumes of data that she has given me for my research. And the thing that I found out is the grass can be greener on the other side. However, it's what's living within that grass that'll often make you ask yourself, why? Why did you ever step in the yard? Thank you. Well, since then, I've had quite a few more pleasurable experiences with dating. And one of them was a total drunken mess. And my friends Christy and Matt, thank God they were there that night. But I met this girl at Duke's, and I know. And now, from now on, all my shows will say, I met this girl at the VFW. But, and she was really nice. And she was a lot younger than me, so I was like, this is cool. And she got my number, and we Facebook friended, and she was texting me and stuff like that. And this was a Tuesday. And so she texted me and said, hey, you want to go out Friday? I'm like, well, yeah. So we met at Duke's Friday, and we get in there, and but if I have to name her, she's Miss Lemoyne. In any case, we get in there, and she orders a shot of tequila and a beer. Okay, so I was like, "Party down, sister, yeah." And so, like 15, 20 minutes later, she orders another shot of tequila, and I'm like, "Oh." So about a half hour after we were there, I had to go use the men's room. And the men's room down at Duke's and Riverside is, you have to wait sometimes. And so it was a little bit of time till I got back. But when I got back, there was another empty shot glass of tequila sitting on the bar. And she's like, "Hey, let's go to Harrisburg. Or let's go downtown." Now, luckily, before we did this, she posted on Facebook, me and Steve are chillaxing at Duke's Riverside. Well, Christy and Matt were out with some friends. And they're like, "Hey, we're downtown, come on over." I'm like, "All right, we're going to come down." And by this time, she's pretty well hammered up. And we get into this first bar. I don't even know what the name of the place was. I didn't even know where I was. And the first thing she does is walk up to the bar and orders a shot of tequila. And at this point in time, I was like, "Oh no, this is not good." And so she disappeared for like 20 minutes, and her phone's sitting there on the bar, and it's raining and stuff, but I'm like, "What the hell am I going to do here?" And so she comes back, and she goes to sit down at the bar, and she pulls out the bar stool, totally misses it, falls on her ass, brings the bar stools back down on top of her, and the bartender looks at me and says, "I can't serve you guys anymore." So I was like, I almost said her name. Oops. "Come on, Miss Lemoyne, we got to get out of here." And so I have friends down at Tom Sawyer's. Let's go there. So we're walking down 2nd Street. She's a drunken mess, hugging everybody, saying high five, whooping, hollering, high-fiving people. Oh my God. We come up to this door stoop, okay? And there's this little old guy sitting there, and he has his hat on the ground, and she goes plowing down next to him and like starts hugging him and stuff like that. And he's looking at me, and I thought, "I'm gonna get killed here tonight." And I was just going like this, like, ignore her, she drank too much. And he had this hat out on 2nd Street there, and he was collecting change. And she's like, "Oh, dude, cool hat." She goes to put it on. Change is running all around 2nd Street. He's looking at me, and I'm like, I'm digging in my pockets, and threw a 20 in his hat. I gave it to him, and he was like, "You want any cigarettes?" And she's like, "Yeah, I got cigarettes." I was like, "Cool, I'll just say it again." Oops. I was like, "Fine, now." I said, "Just give him the whole pack," and I threw the lighter at him and everything. Like, "Come on, let's go," So we're wobbling down 2nd Street. We finally get to Tom Sawyer's and catch up with Christy and Matt. And they were upstairs, and I brought her up. And I was like, "Hey, everybody, this is Miss Lemoyne." And she's like, "I am so drunk." Christy looks at me, and she's like, "Good one." And I was like, "Help me." So she had friends in from England, and her friend said something in a British accent, and Courtney went ballistic. She's like, "Oh, Miss Lemoyne, huge." I knew I was going to do that. Yeah, Courtney Love. It was Courtney Love, yeah. In any case, you guys are going to be on my friends list tonight. Going, Courtney. I can see it now. So in any case, this girl, well, you already know her name, so I can use it now. I don't care. So anyways, this girl goes over to her friend. She's like, "Oh, you want a spot tea?" And she's all hammered up. She's all over her and stuff like that. Now, luckily, she was moving the next day, and her friend Billy was supposed to come into town to help her. Well, here I found out the whole time the phone was ringing, it was Billy trying to get in touch with her. So when I finally looked and I saw it was Billy, I was like, "Oh, thank God." So I answered the phone, and I was like, "Billy," and he's like, "Is this Steve?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Where are you?" "You're supposed to be at Duke's." I said, "We're downtown." I said, "She's a drunken mess. Can you help me?" He's like, "Oh, God." He's like, "Where are you?" I said, "Tom Sawyer's. Get here quick." So I left her downstairs, and I went up with these guys. So Billy finally shows up, and took me and Billy, both of us, to drag her down 2nd Street and get her into a car. So this is the kind of stuff that Steve deals with every time he's dating. And actually, there's another one. And I met Matt and Sarah at, guess where? And we're sitting there at the bar and we're eating, and some lady walks up. She sits right next to me, okay? And I didn't really pay much attention, and we were talking, and somebody said something funny. I don't remember what it was, and she starts laughing. And of course I was like, "You think that's funny, do you?" And I go to have a conversation with her. And stayed there for a couple hours. She's a very nice lady. We had a great conversation. I was really excited. And I told her, would you like to see me again? And she's like, that would be fantastic. And so I gave her my number and everything. I was like, I don't want yours. You call me if you want to go out, stuff like that. And so I get home an hour later. She texts me, hey, I had fun. I'd like to go out with you again. I'm like, oh, this is cool. And so this was Tuesday night, and she texted me on Wednesday and said, hey, what are you doing Thursday? And I was like, hey, I can go out. And so she said, how about we go to that VFW place you seem to like a lot? And I was like, all right, that'd be great. And so so I had to take off Thursday from work because my car was in the shop. And so I texted her at lunchtime. I said, hey, we still going out tonight? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, great. How about 6 o'clock? And she's like, okay. And so she said, can you come and pick me up? I'm like, well, sure. Where do you live? I thought I could just plug it into the GPS. Her response to me, and this is no lie, Matt, right? Am I not lying? I'm living in the Milton Motel next to Duke's. Now I understand why she didn't want me to give her a ride home that night, because all I would have had to do was put her in the car, put the car in neutral, drift back to the fence and say, there you go. This. I found out that night that she has 4 kids. One of them was a 1-month-old. What are you doing in the Milton Motel? So,
what are you doing there?
wait a minute. I didn't finish the story yet. It took me over 3 hours to try to figure out how to respond to this text. I had all kind of ideas. But on one hand, I didn't want to do it because I thought this can't be good. But on the other hand, I was like, this could be good material. So I told her, I said, look, my car's in the shop. I can meet you at 5, but I can't stay that long, thinking I can get the hell out of here if I have to. And so this was like around 4 o'clock, I texted her, and I got to Duke's. It was 10 after 5, still nothing. And so I get a text from her, and she's like, sorry, I fell asleep. How about not tonight? How about tomorrow? And I thought, yeah, how about tomorrow? So I said, all right, 6 o'clock tomorrow night at Duke's. And so all day long, I'm sitting there thinking about, should I do this? Should I do this? Oh, man, I can't do this. This is wrong. And everybody at work is like, dude, you got to go find out. We got to know what's going on here. Me and Matt were coming up with all kind of theories, like she just got out of prison, she's on work release and stuff like that. So I never did meet her, so I don't know what the end of that story was. However, she was texting me for a while, and I didn't text her back. So last week I decided, maybe I'll text her and find out how she's doing. But she didn't get back to me, so I don't know what the story was on that, but there you go. There's another example of Steve's dating experiences. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this so far. I do have a couple of jokes real quick that I want to tell you. And no comedian could do a show probably without being political. And although I try not to be political, I don't like to have political conversations because sometimes that's how the fight gets started. But I do have 2 funny jokes, and I brought one for the Democrats and I brought one for the Republicans, so I don't piss anybody off. And the first joke is about Bill Clinton. On their wedding night, Bill and Hillary are in their bedroom, and Bill comes walking in with a shoebox and a lid. And he says to Hillary, he said, Hillary, if you love me, you will never, ever look in this box. And Hillary said, okay. So Bill slides the cigar box underneath the bed. 25 years later, Bill and Hillary are in the bedroom of their 25th wedding anniversary night. Bill's in the shower, and Hillary could not take it any longer. So she goes to Bill's side of the bed, slides the box out, opens the lid. Inside the box was 2 crunched up beer cans and $275,000 in cash. She puts the lid back on the box, slides it back under, and thought, oh my God, why did I just do that? So they go out to dinner, and they're having a real nice time, and Hillary says, Bill, I've been honest with you for 25 years. I have not looked into that box. But tonight I just couldn't take it any longer, and I decided to look in it. And Bill was like, oh no. And she said, I don't understand. And she said, what's up with the beer cans? And he said, well, every time I was unfaithful to you, I went down to the bar, had a couple beers, and I could think and reflect about how badly I've hurt you. Hillary's sitting there thinking, only 2 cans? Oh, cool. She's like, all right, I'll accept that. And she goes, well, what's up with the $275,000 in cash? Well, Bill said, well, every time the box got filled up, I would take it down and get the money from the recycling. Sitting in the Oval Office one morning, and Dick Cheney comes running in. George, there was an explosion, we lost a Brazilian. And George Bush froze, and his eyes got so wide open, and he just put his hands down on his head on the desk, and he sat there for 30 seconds, and he looked up and he said to Dick Cheney, how many's a Brazilian? You guys, I had so much fun. Thank you so very much. I hope you can do this again sometime. Thank you, guys.
Okay, since I'm so much louder than Steve was, don't answer that, Steve. I just want to thank Steve for donating his time and his talent to us today. We did not pay one dime for him to be here entertaining us today. You all saw that he started the donations for Mason at $50. So again, we thank Steve. And I just want to thank all of you guys for, of course, supporting everything we do here. This is our first time doing anything like this. And of course, we're almost 70 deep in here, which is quite unusual, and we appreciate everything you guys do to make us a stronger and better club. So we're going to touch the community, we're going to touch our veterans, and we're also going to have a great time here together as family. So thank you all very much.
Yeah. I do have to say I'm pissed because I had heckler chips up here and I didn't get to use them.